So you're going to go see Fast 9, but you haven't seen the rest of the Fast and Furious series. You're in luck. I'm going to tell you how to watch them, even though it gets a bit complicated. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you haven't subscribed already, click that subscribe button. Trust us, it'll be worth it. Thank you. What is up, everyone? I am Chris Knight, and you are watching The Real Review 3000. This is going to be a pretty in-depth video, so we're going to get right to it. It is on how to watch the Fast and Furious series. Real quick, we'll get with the main actors. And in this series, the main actors are Vin Diesel as Dominic Toretto, Paul Walker as Brian O'Connor, Michelle Rodriguez as Letty Ortiz, Jordana Brewster as Mia Toretto, Matt Schultz as Vince, Tyrese Gibson as Roman Pierce, Ludacris as Tej Parker, Sung Kang as Han, Gal Gadot as Giselle, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Luke Hobbs, Luke Evans as Owen Shaw, Jason Statham as Deckard Shaw, Elsa Pataki as Elena Neves, and Kurt Russell as Mr. Nobody. Lots of other actors have been in this movie. Helen Mirren plays Deckard and Owen Shaw's mother, I believe. John Cena is going to play Dominic and Mia Toretto's brother, and Idris Elba played in Hobbs and Shaw. So lots of great actors and actresses have been in these movies. Let's get right to how to watch these movies, because it gets kind of crazy. But the first movie is fairly straightforward. It is The Fast and the Furious. Make sure you take note at the name, The Fast and the Furious. Now, before we get to the synopsises here, there will be minor plot spoilers. If you haven't seen all these movies, they're not going to kill the movie, but some of this might give away some of what goes on. Fast 1, or The Fast and the Furious, the first movie you will watch. Dominic Toretto enjoys the adrenaline of streetcar racing, and his fans treat him like a rock star. After a blazing encounter with the ruthless Johnny Tran, Dom decides to take Brian, a newcomer to street racing, under his wing. Dom's sister Mia sees something she likes in Brian too. Trouble is, neither of them realize he's an undercover cop, and Dominic and his rival Johnny Tran are both the prime suspects in a case involving dirty money and big rig hijacking. Yes, it's got heists, it's got streetcar racing, it's got undercover detective work, it's got all sorts of crazy things, but it's pretty much just a popcorn flick, and it's very fun, but it's fairly accurate on how it portrays the streetcar racing scene, and I like it for that. But other than that, it's a good action-packed movie, and if you haven't seen it, go watch it. I think it's well worth the time. The second movie you would want to watch is Too Fast, Too Furious. It was the second one released, and it goes like this. The sequel focuses on ex-police officer Brian O'Connor, who relocates from Los Angeles to Miami to start over. Becoming involved in the street racing scene in his new city, Brian befriends car-savvy Tej and Suki. But his competitive streak ends when federal agents apprehend him, and he must enter into a deal with the FBI. Working with his new partner, Roman Pierce, Brian begins a dangerous mission to take down a powerful drug dealer. Now, this brought in a drug dealer, some questionable believability in some things, a crazy stunt at the end, and again, this is where the movie started to add and make things a little more crazy, a little bigger, badder, faster, louder type stuff. And that's kind of how it went. Now, only Paul Walker was in this movie. Vin Diesel walked away because they weren't willing to pay both of them. They thought they were going to go with Paul Walker. That didn't work. They shot a third movie, which was not the third movie you will watch, but the third movie that was shot didn't have either Vin Diesel or Paul Walker. Vin Diesel was in the end in a cameo, but to do that cameo, basically him and Paul Walker ended up getting full creative control of this film from that point on, because the first film they did after that was Fast and Furious. It was the fourth movie released, but it's the third movie you will watch. Fast and Furious, not The Fast and the Furious. It's just Fast and Furious. Basically, Dominic Toretto is forced to come out of hiding when a loved one is brutally murdered. Heading to LA to track down the culprit, he crosses paths with Brian O'Connor, the FBI agent whose undercover infiltration of Toretto's gang led to the motorized criminals' exile across the border. The two men temporarily put their differences aside as they investigate the killing. Now, this definitely had some more crazy stunts in it. It was less street racing and more just cars going fast and crazy things happening. There was a couple quick street racing scenes, but it became less believable as a street racing scene as much as it is just fast cars racing each other. It became more of an action-packed popcorn flick at this point and continued to add and compound to that faster, louder, crazier, stronger, all that stuff after this movie. So what do you watch next? You would watch Fast 5. The fifth one released is your fourth one you would watch. Ever since ex-cop Brian O'Connor and Mia Toretto broke her brother Dom out of custody, they've traveled border to border to evade authorities. In Rio de Janeiro, they must do one final job before they can gain their freedom for good. Assembling their elite team of car racers, Brian and Dom know they must confront the corrupt businessman who wants them dead before the federal agent on their trail finds them. Basically, again, add more crazy stuff to it. There's a very great chase scene at the end that is fairly questionable in believability, but fun to watch. Great popcorn flick. Add more people into it. Add a newcomer to the main characters. That was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and you get a really good action movie. So, up next, you would watch Fast and Furious 6. Again, the seventh movie released, but the sixth one you would watch, or the fifth one you would watch. It's the sixth movie, but it is the fifth one you would watch. I'm sorry. Since Dom and Brian's heist in Rio left them and their crew very rich people, they've scattered across the globe. However, they must still live as fugitives, unable to return home to their families. Meanwhile, Agent Hobbs has been tracking a gang of lethally skilled mercenary drivers whose second in command is someone Dom knows. Unable to take them down himself, Hobbs asks Dom and his crew for help in exchange for full pardons for everyone. Now, again, add another person into this. This is where I believe Owen Shaw comes into play, and I really liked how they added to this film, and it definitely started. This is where the current plot for these movies comes from. It started really right here. So when they added Luke Evans as Owen Shaw, it really gave the storyline a direction that it's currently following. And it also helped wrap to the third movie that was shot. Yes, I know this is crazy. But the sixth movie that you would watch is actually the third movie that was released. It is Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, or The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. Again, they kept The Fast and the Furious in this, but it had the secondary title Tokyo Drift. It was the third one. When it came out, a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is a horrible movie." I didn't mind it, but it had a totally different storyline that didn't go with any of the others, and so they basically made 4, 5, and 6 to bring it back to the third movie. So that's why you would watch 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, then 3. Because in Tokyo Drift, Sean Boswell always feels like an outsider. But he defines himself through his victories as a street racer. His hobbies make him unpopular with the authorities, so he goes to live with his father in Japan. Once there and even more alienated, he learns about an exciting but dangerous new style of sport. The stakes are high when Sean takes on the local champion and falls for the man's girlfriend. This brought in the drifting aspect. So not so much racing as much as how to corner fast, how to move fast, and all of that. So there's some street car racing, but again, it's totally different, that it doesn't have a heist mentality to it. There is an underlying criminal aspect to it, but it is really just about him trying to learn how to do this new racing and how to become more accepted in the group that he's around. And this also introduced Han, which is really why they did 4, 5, and 6, was to bring it back, because Han was such a loved character in this film that they wanted to bring him into the film. But because of certain things that happened in this film, they were unable to do that. Now, if you haven't seen it, I will not spoil it for you, but check it out in the order that I'm telling you. Now, up next, after that movie, you would go to Fast 7, or Furious 7, basically Fast and Furious 7. Yeah, it's number 8 that you would watch. After defeating international terrorist Owen Shaw, Dominic Toretto, Brian O'Connor, and the rest of the crew have separated to return to their normal lives. However, Deckard Shaw, Owen's older brother, is thirsty for revenge. A slick government agent offers to help Dom and company take care of Shaw in exchange for their help in rescuing a kidnapped computer hacker who has developed a powerful surveillance program. This is where they started adding a lot of crazy things to it. A surveillance program that could follow anybody in the world, and why they needed to find the Deckard Shaw, who knows, because Deckard Shaw is always there. He always follows them around, and he's right there. So why they needed to find him, I'm not really sure. So, whatever. But again, the heist mentality is in this. The fast cars, all of that. It becomes really unbelievable at this point for the most part, but it's still a good popcorn film. Lots of flying cars, crazy stunts, and all that. Before this film was finished, though, Paul Walker died in a fiery car wreck in L.A. I've been there. I've been to his grave. There's a lot of questions on exactly what happened. Basically, he was in a Porsche Carrera, I believe, 911, and I think the guy that was in charge of his foundation or something like that, the guy who ran his foundation, was in the driver's seat, and they were going well over the speed limit, it's been said, and they basically impacted a telephone pole or a light pole, and according to authorities, they died immediately. Some people believe that as the car burned, they heard him and the driver screaming. Nobody knows. A lot of people wondered how they were going to handle this in Fast and Furious 7. Basically, they used his brother, Paul Walker's brother, to body double for him throughout the rest of the shooting. And in certain places, they did computer CGI work to put his brother's face, Paul Walker's face, on his brother. And that's how they finished the movie. And there was very little scenes where they used the CGI because they had a lot of everything else shot. But after that, they had to basically take Paul Walker's character, Brian, out of the movies. And Mia Toretto, Jordana Brewster, she left too, since they were a thing in the movies, until Fast and Furious 9. And Fast 9, I guess Jordana Brewster shows back up. The rumor is in 10, they will use CGI to actually bring Brian's character back. There's some question if they're going to do that. We don't really even know if they're going to stop at 10 like they said originally they were going to do. They may keep going. But Furious 7 got a lot of play for the fact that it was the last one that Paul Walker was in. And it was a very fitting tribute at the end of this film for him. And basically from everybody that was involved with this movie who had come to love and consider him a really good friend and almost like a brother, as Vin Diesel had said after his death. So this was a very touching film. And while, again, lots of unbelievability, the fact that at the end they did a very touching homage and farewell to Paul Walker was very, very nice. So after Fast 7, you would go to Fast 8, Fast and Furious 8. And I would say this is where it gets a little more unbelievable. If you could get any more unbelievable than the other movies. There is a scene in this where The Rock is, for lack of a better word, basically redirecting a torpedo himself. I saw it in the trailers, and I was like, yeah, what? Yeah. So, in Fast and Furious 8, with Dom and Letty married, Brian and Mia retired, and the rest of the crew exonerated, the globe-trotting team has found some semblance of normal life. They soon face an unexpected challenge when a mysterious woman named Cypher forces Dom to betray them all. Now, they must unite to bring home the man who made them a family and stop Cypher from unleashing chaos. Yeah, submarines, lots of high-tech stuff going on, craziness ensues, fast cars, crazy stunts, all of it. Again, think of these movies switching more to Mission Impossible and just Triple X, a bunch of mix of action films that are completely unbelievable but fun to watch. That's exactly what this movie is. Unbelievable but fun to watch. And again, at the end, kind of a fitting tribute to Paul Walker, Brian O'Connor's character. Check it out. Now, this is where we get a little crazy. Fast 9 is coming out. Hobbs and Shaw is already out. But this is where I'd say pause, wait for Fast 9 to come out, and watch Fast 9. Basically, Fast 9 is the next one to watch, and I will explain that here basically really quick. Fast 9 is coming out on May 22nd of this year. Now, Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. It's made very clear in the film that Brixton, who is Idris Elba's character, was killed in 2014. You can clearly see it. You can clearly see a still picture in the Hobbs and Shaw trailers that states the date of his death. When you do the math, that means Hobbs and Shaw would take place in the year 2022. In 2016, Vin Diesel announced that the untitled ninth Fast and Furious movie was set to debut in theaters last year, but in late 2017, the movie was pushed back a year to April 2020, now May 2020. In Fast 9, if Fast 9 was set to come out in theaters before Hobbs and Shaw, it is likely that the film would have taken place chronologically before the spinoff. So let's complicate this whole Fast and Furious franchise timeline even more than we already have, with 3 being out of place and actually being the 7th movie you'd watch and blah, 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 blah. Here's how we look at this. Brixton's original death in 2014 would have taken place before the events of 2015's Furious 7. And as far as I know, Furious 7 takes place in the same year, so 2014, 2015, somewhere like that. That opens up the possibility of future movies taking us back to the moments between the events of 2013's Fast 6 and Furious 7, which has Tokyo Drift mixed in between the two. The opportunity could be there to unite Brixton, Owen, and Deckard Shaw, which have history. It could unite the 3 of them on screen together at some point. Since 9 comes out, so until 9 comes out, we really don't know where Owen is or if he's even alive. There's a lot of things about that. Again, if you haven't watched all of these, that just complicates things. But I think that could be another spinoff with Owen, Deckard, and Brixton in their own like elite force type movie that would tie in somewhere in between 6, 3, and 7, or 6 Tokyo Drift and 7, because that's all smashed together really quick. Actually, 6 takes place, and then Tokyo Drift takes place, and 7 takes place all fairly quick, within months of each other. And so you could kind of throw maybe something in there with the Shaw brothers and Brixton. But if you're going to watch it, I would suggest wait until Fast 9 comes out and watch Fast 9 next. So basically you have 1, 2, so Fast and Furious, The Fast and the Furious, 2 Fast, 2 Furious, Fast and Furious, Fast 5, Fast 6, The Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift, Fast 7, Fast 8, then watch Fast 9. And with that said, Fast 9, Dominic Toretto and his crew join forces to battle the most skilled assassin and high-performance driver they've ever encountered, his forsaken brother. That's all we really know right now about it. We know that John Cena is going to play his brother. I assume that means his full brother, which means Mia's brother too. I don't know for sure. They haven't really said a lot about that. It wasn't until the trailers actually came out, Super Bowl Sunday or around that time, that we actually knew that John Cena was going to play his brother even. Now we do. So we'll see what this does. But I would definitely watch this one after Fast 8. Last but not least, if it takes place in 2022, it is the last of the series at this current state. And again, only because of the problems of shooting and different things with 9 happening, this movie came out before 9. And it is Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. Brixton Lore is a cybernetically enhanced soldier who possesses superhuman strength, a brilliant mind, and a lethal pathogen that could wipe out half of the world's population. It is now up to hulking lawman Luke Hobbs and lawless operative Deckard Shaw to put aside their past differences and work together to prevent the seemingly indestructible Lore from destroying humanity. This movie really has a lot of tech in it and a lot of future tech. Enhanced cybernetically, a person who's enhanced cybernetically, lots of shape-shifting cars or a shape-shifting bike, just a whole bunch of stuff that you really have to suspend believability and look at it as nothing but an action flick and a popcorn flick. Very cool. We get to see Luke Hobbs' family. We get to know a little bit more of a dynamic of him, a little more dynamic of Deckard Shaw. We don't know anything about Owen Shaw in this movie, or since Owen Shaw was in any of the other ones. Basically, so from Fast 6 on, Owen Shaw kind of disappears in a way. He's quickly in Fast 7, I believe, really, really quick. But yeah, we don't know anything about Owen Shaw, really. And in this movie, it hints at a couple things, but I don't think it really means what you hear. But you get to see a little more of the family dynamic of Deckard Shaw and a little more of the family dynamic of Luke Hobbs. Now, from what I've heard, in 10, these guys are going to be back for Fast and Furious 10, and they may do another Hobbs and Shaw movie. There's a lot of places these movies could go now that The Rock has some production ownership, I believe, of these movies. Most of it is Vin Diesel now, but I think that he's been given, Vin Diesel has given them the go-ahead to do more movies that are offshoots of the Fast and Furious. So it's all craziness. Hopefully I've helped you guys figure out how this works. Hopefully you guys will watch all of these. Again, the order's right there. I'll put the order down below that you should watch it in the description. And let me know what you thought of this, guys. Put your comments down below in the comments section. Smash that like button, hit the bell so you know we're coming out with new stuff. And of course, this number right here, that number right there, is 100 and I believe 55 away from these books being given away. Go to my Twitter at ChrisKnight5150 and look at my pinned post. Share or retweet it and like it to have a chance to win these. I'll put your name on the wheel of names that has over 90 names right now. You have a chance to win these if I make it to 1,000 subscribers by April 12th, 2020, which is like 55 days away, guys. Plenty of time to make this. We've been jumping up like crazy. We need 1,000 subscribers. Once we get there, we will give these books away. Help me out, guys. Spread the word at ChrisKnight5150. Retweet the pinned post and like it, and your name goes on the wheel of names. So until next time, I am Chris Knight. This has been The Real Review 3000, and I'm officially out of here.
Hey guys, thanks for checking us out. Be sure to subscribe to both channels, and make sure to check out our friends in the Fandom Minutes. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and BitChute. And you can also send us an email at sean@seanstackhousereacts.com and chrisknight@therealreview3000.com. And be sure to swing by our Teespring store to pick up some awesome merchandise.